Hey y'all, welcome to Shade in the City. It's your girl Treese here, and of course, we're here to get into episode 138 of Beyond the Gates, closing out the week as promised. And I'll see you tomorrow for episode 139. Okay, and as we know, it is the official Chelsea Cat bag release day. Okay, so if you don't have yours already, y'all make sure y'all go get you one of those. Okay, go get you one of these. All right, but yeah, y'all. So let's get into Friday's episode of Beyond the Gates. If you haven't already, please do me a big favor, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're a new viewer and you haven't already subscribed but you liking the vibe, please come over here and just join us. Okay, but yeah, y'all, let's get into this recap and let's get shady. So Nicole meets Vanessa down at Uptown and she comes in going on and on about Danny and her antics. And Vanessa was like, girl, that's not why I called you down here. Okay. And so she lets her know that, unfortunately, Doug was in a traffic accident and has passed away. So Nicole quickly gets it together and starts consoling Vanessa because, again, she was doing that thing that I didn't like, where for whatever reason she feels the need to talk ish about her sister and throw her under the bus. But okay. So Vanessa's breaking down and she tells Nicole that, Doug had been struggling. And she was like, have you heard anything over the past few months? And so Nicole actually does admit that Doug did come and talk to her. And so Vanessa then feels even worse because she was like, he was out here trying to get help. And I wasn't there. So she was like, what type of wife am I? That I didn't know what was going on. I was too busy hunching Diego and all the other escorts and Joey, and it was just too much. It was just too much. Okay. So Nicole was like, girl, have you been going through this by yourself without anybody to talk to? And so then she realizes, oh, damn, you did say something about marriage down at the hospital that one day. And she was like, I wish you would have said something to me. So Vanessa said, girl, I just really assumed things was going to get better. And so she said, I promised Doug I wouldn't leave him. He promised to stop gambling. We weren't even talking about possibly taking a second honeymoon. So then Vanessa lets her know that the last time she saw Doug, he was going to this high stakes game, and she forbid him to go. And so Nicole said, look, baby, it's not your fault. Doug was in the grips of addiction, baby. Okay. And so she asked, well, do the twins know yet? And so Vanessa said, well, the police didn't tell them and they're waiting for me to let them know. So, and she's like, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. So that's when we learn that the son, Donnell, is back in town. Okay. And apparently he was, off studying abroad. So Nicole was like, well, girl, you got to ride over to Banneker. And so Vanessa was like, no. And so Nicole was like, girl, don't worry about it. I'm going to clear my schedule. I got you. Don't worry about it. We got each other. Okay. And she said, let me just run to my house real quick. You sit here. You make sure you eat something. And when I get back, we're going to take care of this. And please know that you're not going through this alone. So now Marcel shows up at the casino as Joey is reading the news about Doug. And he wants to know, well, what the hell are you doing here? And so Marcel tells him, oh, I heard you lost your best customer. So I just, decided to check up on you. Joey was like, I don't think it's very wise for you to show up here after Doug's accident. So Marcel was like, okay, so what about you? Are you going to do the smart thing and stay away from the grieving widow? And I said, well, Marcel got nerve, but he got points. So he tells him, so Marcel said, look, I really was just here to let you know that it's been real. Okay, working with you. But after that money hit my account, he said, after that money hit my offshore account, yeah, I'm about to be sailing on the Sheila. Okay. I done drew up my retirement papers. I'm about to chunk the deuces, okay? And so Joey said, nah, that's not gonna work. I need you to be local. And so Marcel was like, well, do you have another job in mind for me? So Joey said, no, I ain't got no assignment right now, but I'm trying to keep you on standby. Marcel said, no, we never agreed to a retainer, sir. It was a fee for service arrangement. I provided the service, you paid the fee. That's what we did. Okay. So we done here. And Joey firmly lets him know, no, we're done when I say we're done. All right. And so Joey brings up, how suspicious it would look for him to leave town so shortly after Doug's death. And, it basically put up red flags. And so Marcel said, no, the red flags are the widow. And said, I wonder if Vanessa had insurance on Doug. And I said, oh, not you going that route. But it's a good route to go. I ain't even gonna hold you. It's a good one. So Joey tells him that Vanessa is completely in the dark and she better stay that way or his retirement isn't gonna work out like he planned. Now we finally get to see Mona and Jan. All right. We know that Mona's back. Mona's back running her mouth. If you go back to my older recaps, this is why I didn't like Mona from the jump, because she was off running her mouth to Leslie and didn't know if really from a can of paint. But oh well. So they down at the Orphe Jeans discussing Leslie's new wealth, and Jan was like, oh, maybe we gave her the boot too fast. And my notes really say, really, Jan? Really? That's the type of company you want to keep. Okay, girl. Simona said, nah, girl, that's on me, because ain't no way I could have stayed friends with her and worked for Nicole. That just wasn't going to. I barely kept my job after everything happened. You know what I'm saying? And Jan is more worried about being invited to the damn housewarming. I said, okay, let's hurry up and get through this scene, because I was just really over Jan. So Mona talks about how, Leslie was planning to tear down the house across the street from the Duprees, but apparently she thinks it's not going to happen because they got Bill on the case. And Jan said, well, I wouldn't be too sure about that, because, I'm sure Leslie got lawyers of her own. And Mona said, okay, but my money is on Bill, because there is no way Leslie's lawyers are as eager to get her in the Fairmont Crest as the Duprees are to keep her out. And I said, well, that's valid. Jan lets her know, well, I heard from Vanessa, girl, that, Leslie was making her show her all types of different houses. And, she didn't want to see nothing that wasn't in Fairmont Crest. And so then they contemplating, we don't know what's her next plan, what she up to, but we know she up to something. All right. And of course, she is, because that's what she do. So now Leslie is down at Eva's room. Okay, let's call the thing a thing. And I must say, even though I don't really care for Eva, especially in this particular scene, I will have to give a girl her things, that she looked very cute. Very, very cute. So she's off rushing into work. And so Leslie's asking her how things are going. And Eva, in her normal fashion, mentions how the workers didn't trust her at first because of Kat. And my notes say, again, here's another Haley, rent free. Rent free. Eva says, I kept showing up, doing my best. And so, I feel like I'm finally making headway. So Leslie tells her, well, that because you got your patience and your persistence from me. And so Eva was like, well, what's on your schedule for today? Because I would like if you get out. And so Leslie tells her, well, actually, I'm supposed to be moving because the landlord sold the bill or sold the unit. And so somebody else is supposed to be moving in tomorrow. So Eva was like, well, why is this the first time that I'm hearing about this, mama? I don't understand. And so Leslie tells her, well, I was ready for something new anyway. And so I was thinking that I could just move in here. Okay. And so Eva was like, no. And Ted's not going to like that because he's the one paying for the room. And Leslie was like, oh, you ain't got to worry about that no more. I got my own. All right. And so then she said, and by the way, I really wanted to talk to you about that, Eva. Being so financially dependent on your father. I just don't think you need that. And I don't want you under his control or influence. So Eva was like, Mama, must I remind you that you were the one that said Ted owed me that? So Leslie said, girl, but I want better for you. You deserve the best. And so Eva was like, oh, so you want better for me? Is that why you kicked me out the house? Because you do realize that's how I ended up in this hotel. So Leslie said, girl, I just get a little high-headed sometimes. I figured out a way to make things up to you. and I bought you your own place. Ta-da! And so Eva, of course, lights up like, what you did what? And Leslie tells her, so what I did was I bought the old condo that I just lied about and said that somebody else had bought it. And so I bought that so that you could move in it. And so I could move in here. Closer to Ted. She didn't say that. I'm saying that. Because we all know what it is, and so does Eva. But she gonna play stupid and ignorant right now. And like I said on Twitter, we all know, even though she was very well aware of what her mother was doing, by 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Leslie was moved in that room, just like I called it. I should get an award for this, I swear. Anyway, let's move on. And so Leslie tells her, yeah, I bought the old condo so you can move in tomorrow, and whatever you want to do with it, you can sell it, you can rent it out, whatever you want to do is yours. So Eva was like, oh, Mama, I'm just so touched. And so she was like, but why wouldn't you buy another unit in the building so we could be neighbors? That'd be cute. And Leslie said, girl, nah, I'm getting old out here, and, I'm trying to relax, and, I need some housekeeping, and there's a restaurant downstairs, and, it's got all the things going on. And so Eva calls her out and says, oh, no, I get it. I realize the real reason you want to move in. That's to be next to Ted. And I said, well, I said that. I said that. Okay. And so she asked, why can't you just accept the fact that it'll never happen between y'all? And I was like, the same way you can't accept the fact that your mother is evil, manipulating, and just calculated. Isn't it ironic? These scenes with Jacob and Derek make me want to go up yonder and visit Doug for a little while. Jacob goes to see Derek, and he starts asking him if Shanice knows about him getting the feeling back in his legs. And Derek said, yeah. And so then Jacob was like, oh. So basically, she over here working side by side with Ashley, and she keeping your secrets too. Oh, you ain't okay. I got you. And that's all I'm gonna give you from that. Okay. So then we jump over to Garland Memorial, where Ashley is at work talking to Shanice about how Derek moving in went very smoothly. And then she said, but she hasn't really seen any improvement. And so Shanice tells her, you know what? It's because of you that you done turned his water into wine. I said, not you comparing Ashley to Jesus. Shanice, and I love you, girl. But that was not it. Okay. So Ashley goes on about, I'm just trying to be optimistic about Derek's recovery. And so Shanice tells her, girl, just remain positive, and hopefully, he'll improve sooner rather than later. Whenever that happened. So Ashley runs off to do something. And so when she gets back, she tells her, oh, girl, by the way, your phone been blowing up. And so then they briefly talk about Derek's PT with Shanice and how strict she is. And so that's when Shanice notices her ring before Ashley runs off to meet her mom, to meet her mama, which we know is Jan, down at the Orphagenes. That's all I got for you. Okay. Jan and Mona are talking about Ashley, and that's when Jan decides to break the news that Ashley and Derek are now engaged, and she spun the block, and she talks about how relieved she is that Ashley has basically settled on Derek, because let's just call a thing a thing. So then Mona starts spilling the tea about Danny and Andre getting married. See, here we go. Here we go, Mona. Now I'm starting to give you that look again. So she starts spilling the tea about Danny and Andre getting married, and that's when conveniently Ashley walks into Orphagenes and obviously overhears the conversation. So, she sits down and she's showing off her, engagement ring to Mona, and Mona's inquiring about her wedding plans. And that's when Jan gets a phone call from Vanessa saying, hey, are you at the house? If so, can you please bring my wallet to me at Uptown? I got to go down to the twin school. And then breaks the news that, Doug is going up yonder. Derek and Jacob, they finished their workout, and Jacob is confronting Derek about, why you ain't working out your legs. And so Derek said, because, that's Shanice. That's her job. That's the PT stuff. So Jacob was like, so what are you planning to tell Ashley? And I swear to y'all, and Elaine, okay, my wonderful co-host and co-pastor, okay, I told y'all in the live, I said, and y'all told me I was crazy. I was reaching. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go back and rewind to the live to y'all telling me I was reaching, and I was throwing my line out there, and I won't go hit nothing. Because then Derek tells Jacob that he wants to surprise, surprise, and just jump up on his feet on his wedding day and recite his vows to Ashley. Beyond Gates, I'm just saying, I understand this was written months ago, but if y'all need a writer in the writer's room, because the fact that I called that okay, it's a lot of things I called, but the fact that and y'all told me I was crazy as hell, as y'all tell me about every other weird ass theory I have, okay? But I knew that was his plan. I'm done. I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I love y'all. I like to have fun with y'all. So Jacob was like, "Oh, so you plan on keeping the secret for months? Oh, okay." And he was like, "Nah, man, I can't go along with it." And so he was like, "Why are you keeping it from Ashley anyway?" And Derek was like, "Because I told you I wanted to be a surprise." And so Jacob said, "Nah, that's bullshit, and I know it." So he said, Derek was like, "Well, I'm just worried, like maybe the progress ain't really progressing. You know what I mean? And I don't want to get Ashley hopes up." And so Jacob goes in about how, Ashley obviously is trying to marry you. That's supposed to be your partner in crime and life. And she needs to know about your progress. And so basically Jacob tells him, like, yo, I'm really not feeling any of the arguments that you kind of throwing at the wall right now, because basically it's not sticking. So Derek was like, look, it's my life. And I determine how I plan to handle it. And so Jacob said, I'm cool keeping secrets from my wife. So we gotta figure this out, bro. Cause your moral compass is off, and I ain't got time. We are the do good. We do good. We don't do what you and Ashley doing over here, okay? And so then Derek goes down his rabbit hole. Oh, woe is me, and I can't work, and I can't walk, and let me do this in my own time. And Jacob was like, "Sir, are you doing this to test Ashley to see if she's just gonna stick around because she feels sorry for you?" And so Derek was like, "No, is that what you think?" And Jacob was like, "No, but I think that's what you think." Jacob said, "Look, I think Ashley really love you despite all your very strange intricacies, okay?" And so he said, "I don't understand why you keeping her in the dark." And Derek was like, "But I don't know what these feelings are, and they may be nothing, and so I don't want to make them a big deal." But he promises Jacob that if he really feels like he's recovering, then he'll say something. But he wants to be the one to decide that. And I said, "Because you ain't gonna tell him." Now, uh, back at the hospital, Ashley is filling Shanice in on the news about Doug when she returns to work, and that's when Andre ends up popping up, and he wants to speak to her, and so he tells her, I want to let you know before you hear it in the streets and the blogs, you know what I'm saying, on social media, that me and Danny got married. And before he can even get that out, of course, Ashley's like, "Oh, I heard you got married." And so he was like, "Well, it's not what it looked like." And, me and Danny just ran to Vegas. We was drunk, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't serious. It wasn't like a real committed situation. And she was like, "Oh, that's real stupid." And then he notices the ring that Ashley has on. And so she was like, "Yeah, this is the ring I was supposed to accept months ago." And said, "Look, so everything ended the way that it should have." And so, of course, Andre's like, "No, I disagree." He explains that although he went and married Danny in Vegas, he doesn't think that's a sign that things went the way they should. So he tells her that she's looking for reasons to feel that she made the right decision. And he doesn't believe that she's going to be happy with Derek because she wasn't before. And I said, "Well, I during those recaps, I was saying that. I said, I mean, people can change, people grow, but only thing that changed about Derek is he can't walk. I'm sure he's still the same messy man, and now you really got to clean up after him." Ashley blames it. "Oh, I just had cold feet and I was crushing on a player with a camera." And so Andre said, "Look, I feel like you taking the easy way out, and Derek is your comfort zone." And so Ashley claps back and said, "You know what? Everybody can't be as reckless as you and Danny. And clearly that's why y'all were meant for each other." And so she ends the conversation and said, "Look, I'm going back to work, and I ain't talking about this again with you, Andre. Stop coming up here bothering me at my good job. I just started working here. Y'all already know." So Eva, she out here trying to talk to her mama about her foolishness. And basically told her, "Look, I'm afraid you're gonna crash out because you can't let go of this Ted obsession." Leslie just, you know, "It breaks my heart that you are so scarred by my disappointment that you're afraid to be happy." And so Eva was like, "That's not what I said." at all. And Leslie mentions how, here you are sitting alone, waiting for Tomas to choose the right sister. And Eva said, Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember how you were the one that told me to let Cat have him? Even though it wasn't a let go and let have situation. So let me correct you, sis, okay? Because I think you're getting a little full of yourself, Eva. It wasn't a let go and let have, but okay. As he said, well, what I'm saying now is go for it. Because Tomas can't be happy with Cat. She's a spoiled, evil brat. And so Eva admits, well, me and Tomas, we have caught feelings for each other. And, we can talk for hours about these like weird, nerdy books that we like to read. And so Leslie said, that's because you're smart, you're kind, you're beautiful, all the things, right? And she's like, and he sees the value in that. So she encourages Eva, go show Tomas that you're the better option. And I said, yeah, go be your mama, because that's what you are. Go be your mama. And it was funny because it was something that Leslie said in the beginning of this episode where she said, oh, you got your patience and your persistence from me. And I don't know why that really resonated and stuck in my head. But I said, it's absolutely true because she's literally patient, waiting around for Tomas, hoping that he's gonna change his mind. And she's absolutely persistent. I mean, with interrupting his dates with Kat, popping up on him about weird, nerdy, but like it's just you are your mama's child. So then Eva rushes off to work, and Leslie says, well, you know what, girl? I mean, this is my place now. It's my house, and I live here. And so she said, girl, you gotta go. You gotta go. Go ahead. I'm gotta meet somebody. I'm having a meeting. And of course, she won't tell Eva who it is. So Eva's like, what? And I was like, how you come to my room, move in, and then conduct meetings and basically tell me I got to go. I gotta scurry. Okay, girl. Then we see Peaches come by the hotel to see Leslie, and she's confused. She's like, "Oh, girl, this is where you staying now?" And so Leslie said, this is only temporary, until I get into my house." But she lets Peaches know that, look, I got to fill you in on some things, but I just want to thank you for, letting me know about my inheritance. It's completely changed my life. She said those lawyers that you recommended, I hired them to look into your situation before, she hands her a check, letting her know that's for her, that's all you. She said, and so, of course, Peaches is shocked by the number of zeros, and so were we, because I said, where is all this money coming from? It was given it's a whole lot of money in this month. Hey, 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 it's a whole lot of money in this. And that's the only Be a song I know. I'm sorry if you know the joke. But anyway, so she says, go use that money and, go find you a home health aide, go get the care you need. And then say, by the way, I rented an apartment for you, which of course happens to be the same unit that she told Eva she gonna be staying in. And so she said, you can live there, get to know Eva. She'll make sure you good. And then, she apologizes for giving Peaches a hard time growing up after, taking her in. And so she said she plans to give her the respect and comfort she deserves moving forward. And I said, okay. Jan meets Vanessa down in Uptown and tells her, my heart is breaking for you, girl, and twins. So Vanessa's like, thank you so much for going to the house. And she's like, it's just too hard to be there right now because I'm just still hoping Doug is going to come walking through the door. So that's when Joey pops up. And he's like, you sounded shaky on the phone. So I just wanted to come check on you. And I was like, And Vanessa kind of seemed the same. And you see Jan standing there looking all suspicious. But, Vanessa introduces the two of them. And so after Jan leaves, Joey offers to drive her over to the campus. And he's like, I can wait in the coffee shop. I ain't got to be seen by your kids. It's all good. And Vanessa's like, nah, I'm good. Nicole got it. And so he's like, all right, well, I'm going to leave. And he gives her a hug and tells her, like, I'm going to see you later. And that's when, of course, we see Nicole, who's like, you scandalous grieving heifer. And yeah, y'all, that was the end of episode 138. So thank you guys for all your patience. Like I told y'all, unfortunately, I went down in the middle of the week with allergies, but I'm so happy to be back at it. And I thank you for all your well wishes and waiting on me to get y'all these recaps. If you haven't already, all my Shade Squad, please go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure that you guys comment. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when we're dropping new content. Make sure you're following us on all the platforms. That's the TikTok, the Twitter, the Facebook, the IG, the Blue Sky, and the Lemonade. And yeah, y'all, I will catch you tomorrow for episode 139. Y'all have a good week. Be blessed and be safe. Bye-bye.